Good evening, everyone at Northern Pride. It's so nice to see you here this evening. That's right, I've got a Scottish accent. My name is Pastor Carrie Miller, and I'm part of a church called Metropolitan Community Church, which is an LGBTQIA+ church. So everyone is included and everyone is welcome. This evening, we are going to take some time to remember those who actually aren't able to be with us this evening. So I'm going to invite you all into this space, and I invite each one of you to take a few deep breaths and try to still yourself, because my role is about spiritual and pastoral support. So if we could just gently try and bring it down a little bit, that would be really helpful. So we're going to take time to remember. You will see some things on the screen, you will hear some music, and I invite you to stand strong in who you are as a human being. So the first thing I ask you to do this evening, I invite you to what I call Brave Space. And it's a poem that's been written by Mickey Scorpy Jones. And this is what it says. Together, we create brave space. Because perhaps there is not such a thing as safe space. We exist in a real world. We all carry scars, and perhaps we have all caused some of those scars. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world, and we amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other at this time to more truth and more love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have a responsibility to examine what we think and what we know. We will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be. But this space is our brave space together. And we will work on things to bring about change. And we will do that side by side. So in the quiet, I now ask you to listen to this. The song speaks of longing, a longing for change, a time to be free from fear and hurt. So I invite Jean to now come and read a reading for you. just so you can hear what that might mean.
There is time to every purpose under heaven. A time to transition, a time to stand firm, a time to love our partners, a time to hate intolerance, a time to laugh with family, a time to cry at rejection, a time to plant seeds of hope, a time to cut down that structure of privilege, a time to join in silence, a time to shout out against injustice, a time to gather allies, a time to stand with outcasts, a time to embrace, a time to stand shoulder to shoulder, a time to acknowledge identity, a time to discard labels. There is time to every purpose under heaven.
To enable us to bring change, we need to be aware of what went before. We need to remember our roots and not let the things that happened in the past continue throughout our lives and our world. So this evening we're going to play a video that actually shows you a bit about our history and our context.
I was one of about 30 or 40 people that helped organise and publicise the first ever Gay Pride Parade in Britain, which took place in London in July 1972. We were very uncertain about who'd turn up, if anyone. In those days, most LGBT people were in the closet. They weren't open about their sexuality, they wouldn't dare show their faces publicly. Plus, many people felt there was a threat of violence from members of the public, or even the possibility of arrest by the police. We were pleasantly surprised that nearly 1,000 people turned out on that first Pride Parade, which has had very much a carnival atmosphere, but also a very strong political message about human rights and equality as well. I'd say in terms of public reactions, it roughly divided. About a third of the public were quite viciously hostile. We had coins and bottles thrown at us, all kinds of outrageous, abusive insults. But there was another third who just gawped in amazement. They were just dumbfounded that gay people would dare show their faces. But they weren't hostile. The other third were actually supportive. That really surprised us. More people than we expected were supportive. They cheered and clapped. They said, "Good on you." That was very, very encouraging. But the police presence was another thing. There was almost a police officer for every single marcher. They hemmed us in. Some officers openly shouted homophobic abuse at us. Of course, in those days, there was no redress. The police could get away with it. They treated us like criminals. And of course, in those days, in many aspects of gay life, we're still criminalised. There'd been a partial decriminalisation of homosexuality in 1967, but in the years afterwards, the number of gay and bisexual men convicted for consenting behaviour increased by nearly 400%. There was a real police witch hunt, and that was reflected in the way we were treated by the police on that parade. But we didn't let that dampen our spirits. We were joyful and defiant. And we did that march, we celebrated, we finished off with a gay day, a picnic in Hyde Park, where we played party games. like Spin the Bottle and Oranges and Lemons, all given with a queer twist, of course. We kissed in defiance, and I can remember looking at the police, and there were just lines of police, not exactly surrounding us, they were standing a distance back, with their arms folded, looking very, very aggressive and hostile. But they didn't dare arrest us because there were so many. But we were afraid of being arrested, because in those days, kissing in public between people of the same sex was regarded as a criminal offence. And you could be arrested, fined, taken to court, convicted, and fined, or even possibly jailed. How things have changed. What an amazing trajectory we've been on, where over the years, Pride has grown and grown and grown. Right up until 1987, it never reached beyond 15,000 people. But then in 1988, the Conservative government passed Section 28, which prohibited the so-called promotion of homosexuality and the promotion of same-sex relationships as, quote, a pretended family relationship. Well, that was the bomb under gay pride. That motivated many people who never ever attended, who never dared show their face, to come out. So that year, Pride jumped from 15,000 to 30,000, and it's been growing ever since. I think probably the heyday was in the late 1990s, when there were about 100,000 people or more on the march. Sometimes it took 5 or 6 hours to pass a single point. That's how big it was. And of course, in the days when it was on Clapham Common, something like 300,000 people attended the LGBT Pride Festival. 300,000. So even these days in Trafalgar Square, we don't match that. But hey, we are in Trafalgar Square this year, as in years previous, and the square will be filled, and there'll be some great speakers, plus entertainment from singers and performers. It's going to be a really great day. A great day, but also a somber day, because we'll be remembering the victims in Orlando, and indeed all the victims of homophobic violence in Britain and around the world. Just to give you a snapshot, here in London, there are hundreds of homophobic incidents every year, still in 2015, 2016. In all tiny Honduras in Central America, last year, 37 gay rights campaigners were assassinated by right-wing death squads. That gives you a flavour of the battles we've yet to win. So great progress, but more work to be done. And from my own foundation, we'll be marching there in solidarity with the Muslim community against all hate, but also challenging Muslim homophobia and standing in defence of LGBT Muslims who are often victimised by members of their own Muslim community. I was one of about 30 of.
Good evening. Good evening. Peter Hatchell was a bit of a hard act to follow, but I'll do my best. My name is Al Cruz. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a cisgender butch lesbian. And when I'm not at a Pride Vigil or helping out at church, you might find me playing cricket really very badly, or working as a junior doctor specialising in psychiatry. When I first started working as a doctor 11 years ago, yes, I'm still a junior doctor, I wasn't out to very many people. It made a huge difference to me in being able to be my confident in my whole self at work. That there was a nurse in my ward who explicitly and confidently and unashamedly talked about her girlfriend. And that was an example to me of the future that I could have. And now that's my reality. And I hope that I am that unapologetically visible queer person for other people around me, to make space for them to be their whole selves too. We have a new government here in the UK, you may have noticed. radical enough change. Just by being here at Pride, we are all political. We care about people in our lives, and we know that the systems around us affect our communities. They affect us all, and we have a duty to engage with democracy to help shape those systems. We've done that bit, voting is done, but there is still more to do. We are not passively stuck in our situations. That doesn't mean that if you're having a bad week or a bad year that this is your fault. That's nonsense. But I want to give you hope and encouragement that through connections with others, we can begin to change things. So we have a new government regardless of how we voted, and we delegate some power to them, but they can only change some things. We ask them to change the systems around us so we can go out and use those systems for good. We still need to do those things. So we call on the government to change unjust and oppressive systems so we can go out and use those systems for good. One of the ways we can do that is by being unapologetically visible. By being here this weekend, commemorating the work of our queer elders and ancestors, and those who marched to make space for us to be ourselves today, and then building the community that nurtures and honours each other, our similarities and our differences. Kimberly Crenshaw is a pioneering scholar, a writer on civil rights, critical race theory, black, feminist, legal theory, and racism and the law. Intersectionality is a term she coined to describe the double bind of the simultaneous racial and gender prejudice. Since then, many people have expanded the use of that to use intersectionality to consider how being on the margin in multiple ways is even harder than when it's just one or two ways. So we have to work to liberate and uphold those at the margins of our communities. We know that things are even harder for LGBTQ+ asylum seekers. We're grateful for the work of Rainbow Home to support them here in the North East. There are ongoing risks to access to healthcare, especially for trans and gender diverse young people. And we're grateful for the work of B and other trans organisations for their work to support and uphold the trans community. These challenges are not just in the UK but around the world, and we are called to challenge that injustice around the world. We need to get out of our religious buildings, our schools, our workplaces, our pubs and clubs and bring about that justice. And I'm going to leave you with some questions. So what resources do you have to offer right now? Can you be your whole self unapologetically for just a few moments of your week? You're already doing some wonderful work tonight. Well done. We know that not everybody can be their whole selves. And so those of us who can need to take up that space to show that it's okay for everyone else. Some other ideas for you. Do you have time to sign a petition? Do you have longer? Can you write to your MP? Do you have time to volunteer, to be a willing helper? Or maybe you're looking for a new job, and could your new job be helping other people on the margins? Do you have money but no time? Can you use that money to donate to support the work of charities who have the expertise that you do not, to do the work to uplift other people in our community? So tonight, I invite you to mourn those that we have lost to transphobia, biphobia, and homophobia. I invite you to recognise and celebrate the work of our queer elders in creating a space for us to be in community together. And I invite you to commit to action to bring about radical justice proudly and visibly.
So you've heard some things there that bring us out of ourselves and actually look towards what we can do for the future. So we're now going to listen to a transgender poem which speaks to us about being unapologetically visible in our place and in our brave space.
We are transgender. We are here and we always have been. We are your neighbours, your siblings, your sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, and aunties. We are people in your offices and at your universities. We ride the same buses and stand in the same rumbling queues at the post office. And yes, we have probably even peed in the toilet cubicle beside you, and you didn't even notice. We come in all shapes and sizes, with personalities in every flavour, from wild rainbow sprinkled ripple to good old traditional vanilla. We are 7 years old and 70. We speak in all kinds of voices and have different stories to tell. We are hairdressers and bankers, teachers, doctors and actors. We are soldiers. Because if nothing else, we are pretty great at fighting for what we believe in. We are game-changing models, stomping runways. We are high-fashion beauty, and we are lazy days in what little stained stories. We are proud, marching, loud, flag-waving pride, and we're those still in hiding. We're not the TV 2D characters who die tragically at some point in the movie. We're not punch bags or punchlines. We are not solely defined by our struggles. Though being trans can be tough at times. But we are fighting for the future that we want to exist in. We are creating our own history, rewriting dictionaries, speaking out and acting. We are all kinds of human, bravery and beauty. We are the rebellion, getting up every morning despite everything, and daring to be our true selves.
Solidarity by Robin Message. Can we be solid alongside someone? Someone we don't know, of another culture, another class, another country, another time? Can our souls take in their pain, our minds their devastation, our hearts their joy? Solidarity. It's not just polite concern or sympathy with their plight, nor empathy with suffering that is far beyond our comprehension. Solidarity is to claim an incomplete understanding of another's pain and to humbly ask to know more of it. Solidarity is laughing when their children are born, weeping when their children are killed. Solidarity is a painful experience of letting go of our privilege and welcoming in despair. Solidarity is to walk towards those who lack a place, to walk alongside those who lack a hope, and to walk in the place of those who lack a voice. Solidarity is hard. It's too hard. It's too damned hard. Yet, to not show solidarity is to be half a person. If we cannot raise our eyes above our own concerns, if we cannot think of the needs of the other, if we cannot find room in our hearts for a stranger, then our lives will be empty and meaningless. And no amount of our own comfort will give us peace. Solidarity is the ultimate goal of faith, the highest calling of humanity, the greatest triumph in the world of suffering. Solidarity is our walk onwards in defiance of barriers and checkpoints and borders and guards and interrogations and annexations to make a simple, human core of freedom and justice for all. Thank you.
As we reflect about freedom and justice, I invite you now to take time. Remember those we no longer have with us, who will not experience that freedom or justice. And in their name, because we love them and we miss them, each one of you have now lit a candle. We are now going to listen to some music. And if you feel comfortable, I invite you to say the name of the person out loud that you may be remembering. And if you don't feel comfortable, then please just say it in your own heart. This is our brave space. We stand together in solidarity, and together we remember all whom we have lost.
I remember the year when I needed reminders to eat or to shower or sleep. When the days weighed a ton and I hid from the sun and my sadness held me in its teeth. I would wake up and stumble out into the kitchen and eat just enough not to starve. Then I'd wither away for the rest of the day in my room, in my bed in the dark. I was sure that I'd never recover, that there wasn't a thing to be done. I was sure all my good days were over. I was sure my depression had won. Then you'd call me up, you'd call every day. You'd say, hey, I'm just checking in, I hope you're okay. The greatest of gifts, the simplest of love. In my lonely hour, pain lost its power when you'd call me up. When you'd call me up. I remember the season when I lost my reason and my manic mind took the reins. I turned into a storm that made each day war in a flurry of anger and pain. When I came to myself and I looked at the hell that the chaos had made of my home, my werewolf went away, but my greatest fear stayed, that I would be forever alone. I was sure that I'd never recover, that there wasn't a thing to be done. I was sure all my good days were over. I was sure that my mania had won. Then you'd call me up, you'd call every day. You'd say, hey, I'm just checking in, I'm not going away. The simplest of gifts, the greatest of love. In my lonely hour, the pain lost its power when you'd call me up. When you'd call me up. know we are. The pain lost its power when you call me out. When you call me out.
This poem by Alex Clare Young, who is a trans-masculine, non-binary minister of the United Reformed Church, starts and ends each verse with "You are enough." And I invite you to join me in saying it and looking at each other as you do so. We are all family here and we need to hear it more. If you feel comfortable, you might also want to put your hand on your chest and say it for yourself too. Now, you are all holding candles, and as fabulous as you all are, if you are pointing to each other, you will still burn, so do be careful as you're waving your hands around. So I will point at you to invite you to say, "You are enough." You are enough. Beloved, by-plus, beautiful, don't let their jealousy bite. You are enough. You are enough. Terrific, trans plus, tenacious. Don't let their curiosity tear. You are enough. You are enough. Graceful, gay, glittering. Don't let their spite grate. You are enough. You are enough. Literary, lesbian, loyal, don't let their bitterness lie. You are enough. You are enough. Non-binary, necessarily brave, naturally brilliant, don't let their simplicity niggle at your brain. You are enough. And you are enough even if none of that is you. When your implicit imposter syndrome, no, it's not a syndrome, it's just normal for fuck's sake. Anyway, you are enough. When your humanity tells you that you are terrible, weak, clumsy, boring, lazy, stupid, literal, untrustworthy, scared, dull, heteronormative, internally phobic. Yes, I am often all those things too. And yet, I am enough. We are enough. You are enough. Own it.
So own that you are enough. Be brave, be strong, be kind to you and others. Live your life fully in remembrance of all those that we have lost. And as Joe Clifford says, who's a writer and a performer, I leave you with this. For I tell you that what was hid shall come to light. For inside us we all have a light, and it's maybe the very thing that we have been taught to be most ashamed of. And when you have a light, do you hide it in the closet? No! No! You bring it out into the open where everyone can see it, and be glad it exists to shine in the world. So go from this brave space and shine for all to see. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Please raise your candles into the air. We remember them all. Those we have lost, those that we miss, and those that we have loved. We thank you for your presence here this evening. And as you go, please blow out your candle and be careful. Take it with you if you wish. If not, the people around you that gave them out will come light them off you. Safe journey, everyone. Take care.